Hello, everybody, and welcome to Legend of the Stoned Owl. We like to call it LOTSO, and my name is Chris.
I'm Justin.
I'm Alan.
Hey there, gentlemen. Good to see you again. Now, LOTSO is the show on Jupiter Broadcasting where we like to cover events in the gaming industry, and that's everything from news to game releases, and we'll do reviews and things like that. Last episode, we just got our initial hands on the new free-to-play Champions Online, and, you know, the episode before that, it was something always in the moment. And in this episode, we've got a ton of news because that's been in the moment. And then after that, we're going to follow it up with a little conversation, a little discussion, depending on how much time we take in the news segment. If we got a little time left over, we want to talk about the value of video games. There was a story out that we'll get to at the top of the news story that's going to kind of kick off the conversation later on. And I think it's going to be one that we're going to be interested in getting your feedback. So stick around for that, and that'll be up after the news segment. All right, gentlemen?
Let's do it.
All right, guys. Let's get into the LOTSO news. All right, gentlemen, welcome to the LOTSO news segment. Now, our top story is a big one, so let's just get it out of the way. It's pretty epic. Activision has announced they're discontinuing development of the Guitar Hero franchise. What do you guys think about this? This is pretty big. We're talking, a pretty well-known game franchise and pretty well-known publisher, pretty well-known development house.
They killed themselves.
Yeah, they beat it into the ground.
They just released way too many, like way too fast.
What did Rock Band get right that they got wrong?
They only have 2 actual games. Oh, well, 3 now. They just released the Rock Band 3.
Oh, yeah?
And
the Beatles kind of counts as a standalone, doesn't it?
Yeah. But they constantly had, like every week, they at least had one song coming out.
Like a downloadable thing?
Like a downloadable song. So they constantly had songs coming in, and whereas Guitar Hero did not. They just decided to release new games.
Gotcha.
And like say you get Rock Band 2, then you can get all of your from Rock Band 1 imported into Rock Band 2. So you don't have to switch games to play the songs you want to play, you know? You just get to rock out to all your songs. Whereas Guitar Hero, you cannot at all.
You know, to be honest with you, I've never played these games. They just always look ridiculous to me, but I guess they're really popular, and I actually thought, I didn't know any better, but I thought that Guitar Hero was more popular than Rock Band.
It was before Rock Band.
Okay, that's why okay.
A lot
Gotcha.
before. Like, what, Guitar Hero 3 and Rock Band came out at the same time?
Yeah, I think so.
Around the same time.
Yeah, it's too bad. You know, a lot of folks lose their jobs when this kind of stuff
And
happens.
the Guitar Hero was a lot harder. It was a lot more fun, a lot more challenging, I thought.
Yeah, I didn't like the way, because I like Guitar Hero. I got started with Guitar Hero 2. Alan had played the first one a little bit, and then he went and bought it, and I played it, and I thought it was fun. So this was what? Like 4 years ago.
It's like when it actually first came out.
When Rock Guitar Hero 2 came out, right? That's the one we started on. And I saw him playing it. We went to his house to play it. And I started playing it, and it was fun. I had a blast with it.
He didn't think I just went and got it, and we were going to have fun, and then we ended up going out that same day to getting him a controller so we could play together.
Yeah, it was so new that I wanted to make sure I didn't get screwed.
Yeah, I understand how that goes.
So, it sucks because probably the DJ Hero, that's going to go too, and that's a lot of fun. And they did the same thing with that, is they just didn't have any downloadable content, and so there's nothing new.
I play a little real guitar. I dabbled in
the actual guitar.
Yeah. So I went to this while playing. I went to that first and saw Alan playing it. Then I played it. And then, there were songs that I knew how to play parts of. And then I'd be playing them on that thing and be like, that is not how it goes. That is not how it goes. And I start trashing it immediately. But once I stopped putting that shit away, it was just fun. It was fun just playing against each other. Hanshot
first in the chat room accuses it of just being Simon Says set to music. I kind of agree.
Well, Simon Says there's,
and that's addicting.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, right, well, Simon Says it's different, It goes 1, 2, 3, 4, then you go 1, 2, 3, 4. This game, everything's happening as you do it, It's not really, it's just color coordination. That's another thing too. Is
That's right. Yeah, you're not repeating a sequence. You're executing a sequence.
yeah. I was sitting there late at night in summer, probably like 2 a.m, sitting on the floor playing Guitar Hero, trying to do as good as I could before Alan got back from fishing to finally be better than him.
He did it.
I passed.
Well done.
Yeah, it was a fun competitive game.
But I mean, people get crazy good at it, and they made a bunch of videos. A lot of people have videos of them playing expert mode and stuff.
Right.
Oh yeah.
But
there's that end song of that one.
That's
Guitar
what I thought
Hero,
this was going to be, but it's not.
the Through Fire and Flame or whatever.
All right. Well, I kind of want to move on to the next story because I find it kind of interesting.
I couldn't play it.
It's a little more up my alley.
Me neither.
So this story is not particularly my bag, but this next story is definitely up my alley. Now you remember OnLive, right, guys? The cloud gaming service where you can have kind of a crappy machine, but as long as you have a decent broadband connection, you can actually stream the game from the cloud. Right?
This is something that existed before OnLive?
No.
Okay.
OnLive brought that. Now here's the interesting twist in this story. Is HTC, the manufacturer of some high-end Android phones.
They make your phone, right?
Yeah, they make my Evo. They invested $40 million into OnLive.
Ooh.
With the expectation that we're probably looking at having an OnLive client of some type released for the Android platform.
But that means you still got to subscribe to OnLive, right?
There's some different packages, like the OnLive service right now is free. And then
you got to buy the game.
You buy the Game Pass.
Yeah.
And there was some deals that just went around recently, but you kind of had to get in on it. I think that's gone now. Hey guys, and we've reviewed the OnLive service on LOTSO before, and it's gotten pretty good. I won't get into it too much now, but
yeah.
Well, you can ask if you have something to say. But I think it could be really compelling.
The games aren't there yet. From what there's a good amount of games and stuff.
Yeah,
but not enough.
They've got more. But you open up a whole new type of game when you can stream it to your Android, because now it doesn't matter how powerful your Android is. You just need to have like a decent Wi-Fi connection, and OnLive does the rest.
I don't think my Droid could do it.
No, probably not. Probably going to be new Android phones. Probably something HTC builds in or something.
But I mean, that's awesome.
See, that
is cool.
All these Android manufacturers are just trying to come up with ways to differentiate each other.
But
this will be like an HTC Evo 2 with OnLive built in.
But how can you play a lot of these games without a controller?
I don't know.
World of Goo.
If
they're gonna start putting apps on,
they're gonna have to either map some sort of soft controls, or if it's some sort of HTC phone bundle, they could even bundle a controller, I suppose.
See, that would be cool.
Yeah, that could be cool.
But then you have to have a little stand and have to actually have it set up, and it's not as portable.
I don't know.
Then.
There was this accessory that's going around you can find online. It's an iPhone 4. It's actually going to ship, and it's a controller pad for the iPhone 4, and you slide the iPhone 4 into it.
Oh snap!
And it docks in there, and now you have an analog, thumb controllers and stuff for iPhone games.
Damn.
So if somebody
that makes.
And then have you seen the? There's also the Sony Xperia. Have you seen this?
No.
Okay. Well, you got to take a look at this, because now this is an Android phone that's going to come out from Sony Ericsson, and I think it's called Xperia. I might have the spelling wrong on it. Let's take a look and see if this is it. No, it's not it. The Xperia is going to be I think maybe I'm getting the name wrong, but it's going to be a slide-out controller. We showed some early mock-ups of it on LOTSO a while ago. It's official.
Oh.
And it looks a little better than it did in the mock-ups that we saw. And so it's going to have a slide-down control pad.
Yeah.
So if you combine something like that with OnLive...
I'm down like a clown.
Right?
You could be playing PlayStation 3 games on that thing technically, right?
They're saying PlayStation 1 games, I think. They're going to make like a store...
Yeah.
I totally agree with you, man. But what about what if you could play some of the original
PlayStation games?
Yeah, that you really have like a soft spot for, like
that would have a big draw for me.
Twisted Metal.
Okay, Twisted Metal. All right. I was trying to blank on PlayStation,
because that would be, especially that one. That would be fun to play on the go. Like just pick up and play on your save spot.
Yeah, totally. Here's a. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, Alan.
There's a lot of games like that, though. I mean, and it's such a huge library on the PlayStation that I think the problem would be getting those games that you actually wanted, as opposed to the general public. The general public might be like, okay, we want like Crash Bandicoot and stuff, where you're like, oh, that's cool, but like, man, I really want this game. but they're not going to make this for a while. I could see that happening.
Yeah.
Well, the game's that old and everything. You think they'd have an easier time, especially if they made an entire service based around it.
So here's a shot of that phone. I mean, it's kind of neat.
No, that thing is gorgeous, and I'm starting to kick myself in the nuts for getting an iPhone so soon.
Dude,
You
by
think
the
so?
time that comes out and gets to be a decent price, and
Yeah, because see, they don't have. It's not, for one, it's not shipping, and then two, the Sony software isn't there yet. There's no. It's all just kind of gonna do, maybe gonna do, probably gonna do stuff. You know what I mean? So it's gonna be all next generation, but it's cool nonetheless.
No, I'm excited for this because this is everything I ever wanted to, except for the touchpads, dude. Because that's how the thumb analog sticks are being handled. Correcto.
yeah,
Those are touchpad kind of sensors.
Yes, yeah.
it's better than nothing, and it's better than just having one analog stick, you know. But I do agree, because you don't get like we were talking with cell phones now with the touch screen. You don't have that touch where you just kind of know where your fingers are, like you do on a keyboard and stuff. And the old school phones where the little 5 had the nub, so you knew where you were.
Right. Yeah.
Now you're all relying on touchpads, so it's hard.
It is more difficult. You know, there's like solutions out there to put like little controller sticky things that you can suction.
Yeah, we
cup to the
talked about
screen.
that one time on LOTSO.
Yeah. I don't know, man. It all sucks. So I'm pulling up if you're watching the video version.
This is something you showed me before, and I was down like a clown.
Yeah,
it looks
that looks awesome.
Yeah, so you slide the phone into it, and it's a control pad, and it looks like it's actually going to ship.
Did we ever mention that the iCade's actually going to come out?
No,
It's actually coming out.
that's cool.
Yeah, I am pumped for
Oh, you know what? I saw it at CES. Yeah.
those Think
There you
Geek
go.
bastards, dude. We were gonna get one. We didn't.
Yeah,
have-
and it's going to ship with a lot of classic games too. Like they got some serious hookups.
Yeah, and I thought you were gonna have to jack it into the input or whatever.
No, it's going to be Bluetooth.
Yeah, it's all Bluetooth. You don't have to plug it in.
you just
sucks.
drop the iPad
it looks
in
like
there.
you do.
No, it's just like a little thing that holds it in there.
And the beauty of it is because
Nice.
it's just Bluetooth controls. It's not limited to the iPad. So eventually they could expand it to other tablets when they start shipping.
Yeah, see if they do.
That's awesome.
I want a blue. Look at all those buttons on there too. Look at all those buttons. You have an iPad.
It's already
I have
out of
an iPad.
stock.
We're playing. You know,
It'd be yeah.
Wonder who decided
I like
was a
that.
good idea.
I'm getting it for sure. We could play Street Fighter against each other.
$100 though.
$100, dude.
That's
That ain't
nothing.
nothing
Okay.
compared to a $700 iPad.
It does come with you can get a ton of games too. I think.
If you're gonna be breaking balls over a $100 iCade, you shouldn't have bought an $800
And it doesn't.
iPad.
It doesn't stop there. This what I'm showing right now, if you're watching the video version, is a drawing, a patent application drawing of a dock for a controller. And what's interesting about this patent drawing is this patent was actually filed by Apple.
Oh shit!
So it's like the iCade.
How do they get away with it? How come this is leaked and how come all their other stuff wasn't?
The patent office stuff is public. It's you just got to go find it.
So we could have found the iPad before the iPad was the iPad?
No, like with that kind of stuff, Apple works out a deal with them to not, that they request that it.
I don't get why they wouldn't request it for this.
It depends. Like I think with the patent office stuff, it just gets released at a certain point. I was getting it with mixed up with the FCC, but this I'm not sure. A lot of stuff that Apple does come out years beforehand, and any company does this. If you watch them closely enough, a lot of times you can see this stuff. Like you can watch Microsoft patent a lot of stuff that you could see eventually working to connect. Like if you watched it years ago, you could see how you could sort of draw the
Like you wouldn't
conclusion dots.
necessarily know what they were doing, but you're like, wait, why are they doing stuff
Yeah,
with,
and they make-
with an infrared camera?
They
That's
make these
weird.
like super broad. They make them like they describe them with the most general, vague of descriptions. That way, they're super applicable to anything. But they also make it really hard to figure out what it is.
How long before the iPad came out was it announced?
I don't know. I think it was like announced a month before it shipped.
Jesus.
But I
Because you
think,
get the Connect and everybody's, they're telling you years in advance.
yeah, that's the crazy thing. I mean, that's dumb.
I wonder why that's different, though.
Because Apple knows they got money on their hands. And
It's-
Xbox
it's-
needs
it's-
to let them know there'll be something good coming from them.
Well, I mean, this isn't really a LOTSO discussion, but the thing my personal, but why the hell not? My personal take on it is Apple is ran. Well, it's a completely fundamentally different way of delivering your products to the market and the way you run the communications of your company, right? Nobody knows what Apple's doing until Apple's up on stage telling you what they're doing, right?
Yeah. Oh,
Microsoft just doesn't have that level of control over communications. So stuff just comes out anyways. So what Microsoft does is they pre-announce stuff. That way they try to get other people working with them. They can try to get titles and stuff like that.
Is that what you're telling me about the Microsoft store that opened? How it was like this big, huge, blown-out event while Apple opened up an Apple store without telling anybody and got like double the people?
Yeah, but funny enough, though, I mean, you have the reverse happens. The iPhone 4 from Verizon launched and nobody was in line for it.
Really?
Yeah, they were just empty lines. So it's not, everybody has, launch sales.
And see,
Well, there was a bunch of pre-orders online, but the actual standing in line for the store, like, they had like the line guide set up that way people could queue, and
that's because all those crazy people that would be doing that already have their AT&T phones. So they're just waiting to switch back to Verizon when their things run out. I bet.
Yeah. So Microsoft comes out with Kinect. They kind of make a splash, and it's been a really big success. So Kinect, I think, is not a fair. I don't think it's fair to knock them for pre-announcing it because I think they still have pretty good success.
I was just curious of how,
Yeah.
Word.
All right, let's move on to the next story because I think you're going to like this one, dude.
What do you got?
All right, you ready?
Yeah.
Madden 11 data trends show that the players jumped on the Packers bandwagon.
I'm going to shut up and let Justin talk.
Well, whatever. This is just classic bandwagon, dude.
Yeah, so they evaluated 290 million different game sessions that were played between August 10th, 2010 and January 31st, 2011. And they tracked as different players were doing good in the actual game, people would switch over to those to those teams.
Well, that's too. As the teams get better in real life, they go to the playoffs and they start winning, and Madden releases the updates. They get better on the game, so who wouldn't want to play with the best team?
Yeah, for sure. And and you want to play with you want to play with the winner too, right?
Yeah, dude, diehard Seahawk fan, love me some Seahawks. But if I ever I played probably 3 games online of Madden a year, and you will not see me as the Seahawks. I'll be a team that can win.
Really?
Yeah. Well, no, dude, I don't want to, because you're just asking to get your ass beat. They take this stuff really seriously.
Yeah.
They had a whole entire show. You know that? Madden Nation. It's like this traveling bus that drives around, and these guys just live together and play Madden. And then a guy gets beat, you're kicked off the bus.
Is it on TV?
It's on ESPN.
Oh my gosh.
It is terrible. EA and ESPN are in bed together, and it's disgusting. You don't want to see it. I don't want to see you touching each other.
All right, let's go on to the next story. Because I just want to make a quick mention of that one. This next one also just another quick mention because it's just I cannot believe we're actually at this milestone in history. Duke Nukem Forever actually has an official freaking release date. You believe this? Duke Nukem Forever. It's actually going to happen May 3rd in the U.S. and May 6th worldwide.
Too Human 2011. It's how it's going to be.
Yeah?
No, I don't know.
Once you saw it in PAX, didn't you figure like, okay, it's totally coming out?
It's just we still didn't have a date.
Now it's just a matter of time.
Yeah, now we have the date though.
I didn't follow it too closely as it was happening, as they were going through the ups and downs. I just heard about it when it did happen. When I read a magazine said, "Oh, Duke Nukem's not coming out," and I kind of said, "Who cares?"
Yeah,
and kept on going. So this isn't really the biggest thing for me.
Yeah,
but
I'm definitely picking it up.
Oh yeah.
All right, now let's move on to this last story for the news, and then we're going to jump into our discussion segment. And I just wanted to cover this one with you guys because I found it interesting. It's not so much as a story as is an interesting study going to World of Goo, which has been out for 2 years now. Have you guys played World of Goo?
I haven't.
No.
Okay.
Ashley has.
It's kind of just a fun game, and it launched for the iPad recently. And I wanted to cover this because I think it shows an interesting trend in the direction that we're going as an industry. But before we get into that, I wanted to cover what I thought was kind of a bit of a rude attitude because I felt like they're being disrespectful of their customers, especially since I'm one of them. I've bought their product for the iPad, and I don't really appreciate the way that their tone is in their blog post. So they're talking about in this blog post that we'll have a link in the show notes. They're talking about the lessons learned for releasing on the iPad and the iOS system, right? And they're talking about the community. And one of their quotes here that I'm gonna pick out is kind of what rubs me the wrong way. And it goes, "What we neglected to consider is that the iOS audience might be looking for a different kind of fast, fun entertainment, where punishment for failure, no matter how slight, is not an option, and no matter how badly you play the game, you always feel like you have a reasonable chance of success. To address this, we updated the versions to include more prominently featured skip the level button and allowed an unlimited number of skips. Another option we jokingly considered is to ask players to do an autocomplete level by purchasing the almighty goo ball. As in joking, they could just do a little...
Well, that's what Angry Birds did, dude.
Yeah.
They're taking a stab at them, maybe.
I think it's a little bit of BS. I don't like the way that they're...
I'm fine with that. Because it's true. You know, a lot of people don't want to... Like, I heard that Super Meat Boy game. That's a game I'm thinking about getting, just about how popular it is that it's just punishing. You know, it's hard.
Well, what they're saying there is that iOS users, that the gamers on the iPad are a bunch of pansies, and that they don't want any failure, and that they have to make the game super easy for them. And they're neglecting to maybe consider the fact that they just didn't make it obvious how this game has an extremely unique style of gameplay when you're using a traditional interface like a mouse and keyboard or a controller. When you move it over to a touch interface where you're touching a piece of glass with no feedback, and people are having a hard time using it, maybe it's not because they're stupid, maybe it's because you didn't explain or design the interface correctly. So instead what they did is they came out and they made this insulting blog post that insinuates that users are just too stupid to figure out how to do it, and that they had to make it easy for them.
That's an update, man. That's what you do. You update things to what people want. And if those are the complaints, those are the complaints.
Yeah, it just feels a little like F you. But
it does. It does kind of sound a little snarky.
And you know, and here's why is you can look at the numbers. They're making a ton of money off of it. This is making.
That's what I was going to say. For something so popular,
yeah,
I'm surprised people are having an issue.
I don't understand. And now, so what they did, and here's a little interesting insight: when you have a locked-in ecosystem that Apple has, where they control everything, you can kind of game it a little bit. And so they targeted a new release, and they got their price point, everything all aimed up so that Apple might possibly, just hopefully by the luck of the draw, feature them during the holiday. And Apple froze the App Store with no new submissions during the holiday, and so that meant that they got locked in for App of the Week for 2 weeks straight during the Christmas holiday.
Damn.
So it made them a ton of money. And now they continue to make a ton of money by doing some strategic price drops and things like that. They started their app at $10. And these guys are nice. You know, these guys are indie guys. They develop for Linux, things like that. So I've respected them. I've followed them, and I said, you know, geez, $10? What the I've already bought this game before, but all right, $10, I want to support them. I'm going to pay it. Right. 30 days later, they lower it to $5.
Yeah, right now it's $1 or something.
Yeah. That rubs me the wrong way, too. Yeah. But, you know, they're learning. They're moving forward. That's fine. Here's the interesting thing. They say that when they're featured in the top area, like the #1 app or something like that, they have a chart here that as you drop from the #1 spot down to number 20, number 30, 40, you start dropping way, 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 way down, right? And this chart looks really interesting, but what they say is, you know, so here, these, you know, in the 60 spot here, they're you know, pretty low, but what they mention is all of these numbers, all these data points are still in the thousands. So this is, you know, they're still making thousands of dollars a day, even when they're like ranked 60th in the App Store. So that's pretty significant. Here's what they say: it's brought them to an observation, and I think this might be the point that's to take away from all of this. They say in 2008, with a lot of different games that came out through the marketplaces and the arcades and stuff like that. You know, there's been a lot of game releases. A lot of indie developers went to the arcade, right? Because it's a place to make money. He said a lot of attention was given to which console provided the best distribution opportunities. Nintendo had the largest install base, Xbox Live had the largest number of registered users, and the PlayStation Network had the strongest growth momentum. He says the discussion is still going on, and that landscape is constantly changing. World of Goo's launch on the iPad gave us a new perspective on that discussion. In the first month of sales on the iPad App Store, World of Goo sold 125,000 copies.
Damn.
In comparison, World of Goo's best 31-day period on the WiiWare store was only 68,000 copies. So in the first month, they sell 125 copies. In their best 31-day period on the Wii Store, they sell 68,000. He goes on to say, on Steam, Our best sales record was 97,000, thanks to 2 promotions at a discounted price. So far, the iPad version is by far the fastest-selling version of the game, both in terms of number of units sold and in revenue generated. What makes this even more amazing is that this is a 2-year-old game released on a platform that is less than a year old. The iPad doesn't have the benefit of an install base built up over several years like the Wii and the Xbox do.
Right.
In the short term, we think that the independent developer can still get their game on a console, and it's a safer bet than the App Store lottery because they just happen to get featured. But they also got a really good amount of press coverage. I don't think you should discount that. But one might wonder whether in the long run, if it even matters who wins the PlayStation Network, WiiWare, and Xbox Live race. Basically, those guys he thinks are fighting a battle that's just not even going to matter soon. What do you think of that?
For an
Is
indie
mobile that
developer,
big?
he seems kind of full of himself.
Well, he's just saying.
Yeah, this guy's got a lot of smoke blowing, dude.
He does, doesn't he? I know. It's too bad. I don't hold them in the same level of regard that I did before this. But this is the data. So if this is what the data says, despite his tone, is it our phones and tablets just... You got to wonder, right? I mean, as they get more powerful, like they're saying now that with this next generation of tablets that are coming out, they're near Xbox 360 level graphics. Near. Not as good as the PlayStation, but near. And this is just like their second or third iteration. Imagine these things are 4th or 5th generation devices, how powerful they're going to be.
See, I don't know how the rest of the world views controller in hand, sitting on couch.
Well, if these things take off, well, okay, you're right about that.
See, because I don't know if a lot of people are like me and they'd rather, you just cannot get a decent game on an iPad for me. I know there's fun games that people love.
They're casual games.
What about, see, this is where I agree, but what if you take something like, have you heard of the Motorola Atrix?
No.
It's a new cell phone that's coming out in like a month. And its claim to fame is you can walk up and dock it to, well, one is a laptop, but the other thing you can dock it to is a multimedia, so it's a phone. You dock it to the multimedia stand. It does 1080p out over HD to your TV. It full TV interface does like a multimedia interface, but also you can play your games. So what if, like, you know, in a couple generations from now, you could have games on your mobile device, but when you put it in that dock, you get a whole other class of games.
If they can have the same type of games that I'm playing on a console, then yeah. I mean, if that's where consoles end up going.
But could you see...
But I think there's always going to be some kind of console.
Yeah.
No matter what.
Yeah.
Because when it's done right, I mean, when you look at it, even the PlayStation 2 is still selling.
Oh, yeah.
Here and there, they still do come out with new games for the PlayStation 2.
You know, like, I guess back to the other thing, I just don't trust, I don't like OnLive, I don't trust my game playing to the internet. I don't like me being at their...
Well, you like Champions.
I do, but it's not my, you know...
Yeah.
It's a game that I play as well, not a game I only play.
I have never, like, you know, just had that obsessive love for a portable game. Like, you know, there's like...
Dude.
There's Angry Birds, you know, that you could get addicted to for a couple hours, or Plants vs. Zombies that I could, you know, on the rare occasion I could sink a couple hours into and be like, geez, I just spent an hour doing that? But not really ever. But, you know, you take a good, compelling console game like Halo, what was Halo Reach? Was that the latest one? Halo, the latest Halo?
That was the latest Halo.
Or, you know, BioShock or something like that. I mean, the level of game there makes the other games just look like toys.
It does. It totally does.
Oh, yeah.
So, I guess what I think I see what you're saying, Alan, is that it's going to be, you know, just another huge market. It just means gaming's going to get even bigger. The gaming industry is... Maybe consoles will shrink a little as a result, you know?
Well, I think it's a way also
like
that if the companies do it smart, like ID and stuff, they can use that to not only promote their games that are coming out on consoles, but also use it as like a revenue generator. Like, so,
I'm sure they kind of do now.
They're not as expensive to make. It's cheaper development, and the payout's way higher. So if you can support your big budget game by doing, you know, a couple little games, awesome.
Yeah.
Then I think that's, you know, a good way to make money.
But then you get EA
works.
dabbling in the iPad, like Need for Speed.
Yeah.
It looks great, but it's just terrible.
Yeah.
It's garbage. I couldn't stand it.
That's why I think I see, you know, I just got to figure you have to have the kind of immersive experience that you're just not going to get at that level of interface unless they can come up with some sort of docking system or something. You know, something like that. I maybe. But yeah, right now it's just none of these are like. I couldn't see like doing like an MMO like Star Trek Online on a portable device.
God, I would shit if you could.
That oh god, it'd be great. Yeah, but you know what I could see is I could see a lot of Wii type games getting eaten up by the iPad type devices.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of that 6-axis motion and the a lot of that kind of level of game. You know, I don't want to insult Wii games, but a lot of them actually don't look as good as iPad games.
No, they're trash, dude.
So they're not HD.
From a graphics level, you could do better, and then you've got the motion stuff down. I don't know.
Yeah, I see that happening a lot faster than the
I hope to God that
party games are still you can't beat with a group. You can't beat a
but then like
with
the PlayStation phone or whatever they're calling it, the Sony phone. You have something like that that's kind of like the start of it, where it's like a portable, and if they have the old games, cool.
Yeah.
And that's something I've always wanted, is like, I want a portable Xbox 360. Like, I'll take the graphics chunk down, I'll take whatever, just as long as I can take my games on the go. Like, that would be awesome. Like,
now, well, let's talk about this. Now, I mentioned at the top of the show we were going to talk about the value of games, and I said that Nintendo's CEO came out and said something. And
Reggie Fils.
Let's transition to that, because I think this applies, because one of the way that these mobile devices like these app stores are applying pressure to consoles in a big way, and in a really big way to the DS. I mean, the DS is going to get. The DS is taking a lot of heat because these app store titles on the markets and all this different stuff are like $2, $5. $10 is an expensive game. But what's a 3DS title going to be?
Probably $40-$50.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Nintendo's freaking out. So
they should be.
So well, I agree, and so this is one way where maybe these mobile devices could kind of hurt consoles, is they could start eating away at this kind of stuff.
I think it'll eat away at Nintendo, because just like you were saying, there's nothing to hoot about with the Wii. It's just kind of doofy. It's
unless you look at that party aspect.
Yeah, that's fine, but most people I know, they're not sitting there partying, playing golf and stuff.
Yeah,
they're getting hammered and falling asleep on kitchen
floors. No, it would seem like to me, you go iPad or Zoom or whatever it is that does the gaming. Maybe it's going to be like a Motorola Zoom with OnLive or something. You go iPad, Zoom for that kind of Wii type stuff. And then for your serious gaming, you either go PlayStation or Xbox with either Move or Connect.
Yeah.
For the party stuff. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
And then you solve the problem. Now, here's what this was Nintendo president. Sorry, I said CEO, but he's the president of Nintendo. And he's worried about these inexpensive mobile games and their overall impact on the industry, because Angry Birds has them freaked out, right? I mean, Angry Birds is just selling like nuts.
It's so silly.
I don't like it.
I mean, it's fun.
It's okay to poke at.
Yeah, but
free is the right price on Android.
Yeah,
but it's selling like nuts, and I think it has. I think Angry Birds has them freaked out. In fact,
that's the thing too. Is it's only $1? Sure. I'll try the game that everybody's raving about.
Well, that's just it. And so Reggie actually specifically talked about Angry Birds. This is a quote from him. He says, Angry Birds is a great piece of experience, but it's one that's compared to thousands of other pieces of content that for $1 or $2, I think, create a mentality for the consumer that a piece of gaming content should only be $2. Taking one last dig at the mobile competition, he added, some of those games are actually overpriced at $1 or $2, but that's a different story. What he's saying is he thinks that these titles are creating in the consumer's mind that general gaming experiences are only worth about $2.
Well, that's fine if you're billing yourself at. That's like you said before. They're competing with iPhone and the app stores and everything.
I mean, the DS is for sure, right?
Because I would love. Dude, I'm excited for the 3DS just to look at it. Yeah. But I'm still gonna like touch screen stuff over that.
Well,
I bet.
and you got that again. We go back to the PlayStation phone again. But if you're gonna, if you want that kind of play, would you want the DS or would you want a phone that just has a controller? And is 3D? I don't know. I mean, I guess we could almost do a whole other LOTSO on 3D gaming. But I think Nintendo is specifically getting scared by this stuff, and I just wonder where that's going for them. But I think more PlayStation, Xbox, they're not so much.
How much money are they really putting into these Wii games? I mean, what's the biggest budget Wii game that's come out?
Yeah, probably one of the actual Nintendo ones, like the Zelda or
a game that I feel like
the
I can
Mario.
play on the Nintendo 64.
You know, everybody says to me when I go on my rant about Nintendo and how I think they've kind of gone downhill, and I don't think they're pushing the envelope anymore. And everybody that has been around for a while, and they always say to me, "Well, Nintendo never was. Nintendo was always doing this. This has always been Nintendo style," and that's kind of okay. That's kind of true.
Super Nintendo was pretty cutting edge.
Well, I actually think that the GameCube was pretty good, too.
The GameCube was nice.
And there was a lot of things that Nintendo has done.
The 64 technically wasn't the PlayStation 32-bit, Nintendo was 64-bit?
I don't...
Wasn't that the whole entire 64-32 thing?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Dreamcast came out around there, too. That was more what I was about.
Snob.
Yeah.
Well, I don't...
No, only cool people play Dreamcast, dude.
Yeah, we couldn't afford them.
Only cool people play Dreamcast.
Well, it was my dad. I didn't buy him back then, you know.
Didn't they have those like little like cartridges you could slip in there with like the play your Pokemon and stuff?
Yeah, and you could have your little seaman guy on it.
What?
It's a game where you like it was an aquarium with a fish and it had like a human head on it. It was weird, and you talked to him and gave him instructions. It was crazy. My friend had it. It was crazy.
All right, enough about Dreamcast weird ass games.
I guess, yeah. I feel like I still my point where I was going with this. I'm just sick of everybody telling me that Nintendo's always done this, because I feel like, like they mentioned that Mario is going to be out on the 3DS.
Yeah, Mario Kart and Resident Evil
and like a Super Mario game, and it's like, of course it is. They always do that.
The whole entire system is too Japanese for me. Not in I don't like Japanese way. I just don't like their kind of games.
Even Mario?
Well, no, Mario's fine, but I can't play it anymore. It's not what I want to play. It is totally not what I want to play.
Yeah, I guess that's...
Zelda and all that stuff. It's all, Hey,
before we wrap up, we should talk about what you do want to play. You guys want to touch on your experiences so far with Champions? I know that when we first played it 2 weeks ago, it's the first time you'd really seen it, so it was kind of a new experience. A couple weeks into it, are you guys still playing? What's your experience? What's your impressions?
We played, 3-4 days this week?
Yep.
Yeah, so, pretty much after that, LOTSO, I was going over to Justin's house. I built a crappy character, and Justin built a couple of other cool ones for me. And I just don't spend the time in creating it. That's the thing, is I haven't gone home and I haven't created one.
I know,
I just don't care to. I'd rather go over and play the game because the game's fun.
Yeah,
I'm having a good time playing it.
Now I was thinking, I don't know if we'll incorporate it into the show. I think maybe we should, but LOTSO is recorded every other week, and so we're recording right now on February the 11th, which means the next time we'll be recording is February the 25th if everything goes as planned. And I think we should do another live champion. So if people watching this or listening to this want to join us on February 25th around 8:30, 9 p.m. Pacific time.
The game is a kick in the pants, dude.
Now, are you buying stuff from the C-Store?
They caught me on one thing.
They did? Only one time?
Well, it's the same thing 3 times. It's the extra inventory for your bag so you can carry more stuff, so you can make more money when you get back. I got that.
They just put in the C-Store that I think I might want to try to get is the light speed. They just put a new travel power.
Ooh, I haven't seen that.
Yeah, looks kind of cool. And they always get me with that kind of stuff.
You get a secondary travel power when you hit level 35 or something.
Ooh.
So you super speed run, or you can and fly. That's what I heard anyways.
Huh. So are you enjoying it? Are you getting bored with the combat? See, my problem honestly with Champions is I play it in bursts because I just get bored.
I don't know. I like looting. I like having my little custom guy that I made. I like getting better things. That's what really gets me into a game.
Are you feeling like you're hitting any boundaries with the free-to-play system? Like you're limited?
No, not yet.
No.
Really?
No.
Not at all.
Nice.
But I'm only level 17.
Oh, still.
Yeah, see, that's the thing, is I feel like I'm missing out on things that I need to be doing for the game. Like, I'm a scientist and I got to be researching stuff, but then I don't know what I'm supposed to do after I research. I think there's another step, but I don't know if I have to wait. I've tried reading about it, and I thought I figured it out, but it seems confusing.
You ought to try the forums.
No, I did.
Oh, okay.
No, it's a really slick game. Every time we're playing it, we walk away from it saying, "I can't believe that's free."
Yeah, seriously.
And I'm the guy that's always the happiest with what I'm playing right now. It's the best thing ever, and this might wear on me soon, but just it being free to play and being able to go back to my game anytime I want to in the future without worrying about anything.
Right.
That's fun to me.
Now, let me ask you this, though. Okay? You mentioned it was free to play, and you're really, 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 really liking it. If Cryptic came out next month and said, guys, okay, they're free to play, we just can't support it, it costing us too much.
Bye-bye.
We're going to go $11.95 a month.
Nope.
I'm out of here.
Wow, even though you're enjoying it this much?
Yep.
What if they came out and said, all right, but you can buy the lifetime for $200?
No.
Really?
Not right now.
They'd have to, I'd say about $1.25 is as high as I'd want to go for a lifetime of a game.
So
if they said like, if it was like Xbox or something where it was like, $50, $60 a year.
So you don't, okay, let me, yeah, I get you. And yeah, that'd be a lot better if it was like that annual price. That's something you can swallow.
It's a lot easier.
But, okay. Now, I'm just playing devil's advocate here because I'm totally with you. I got, the Star Trek Online lifetime subscription because I didn't want to pay a monthly. And I think if I do my math right, like in 2 to 3 months from now, it's paid off. It's paid for itself. If I had stuck with the monthly.
Well, there's certain things that you pretty much know you're gonna love, so you can make that investment.
But here's where for them it's $15 a month, and I'm just playing devil's advocate because I don't pay that. I bought lifetime, but right now they do this on and off. But right now they're doing a new weekly mission episode, was what they call them, every weekend on Saturday at 11 a.m. And they're gonna do 4 of them or 4 or 5 of them in a batch, and then they quit for a little while and they do more. And they're constantly adding new content, on a weekly basis. And it's not just that, there's other little things they do here and there. Now, so it's like you get new stuff to play every week. To me, there does seem to be some value there. I mean, the subscription model does make kind of some sense. Can't you see it? I mean,
I know, but
as much as you're enjoying it, don't you?
I kind of think too that stuff that comes out every week, you got to think it's not hitting as hard as the meat of the game. It's just not the same.
Oh, no. It's an event. It's big.
Well, I'm sure it's big to people, dude, but whenever I get any sort of downloadable content for any game I've ever gotten, it has felt so tacked on.
It is the best stuff they've ever done.
Well, I don't know. I guess we're two different people as far as that goes, but maybe it is.
Well, it's not like a downloadable thing, right? Now, it's just you just go to a new area in the game, or you go to an existing area in the game that they've added stuff to. So it's not like you download something.
And see,
you just go there, and now there's new content
I
there.
get that more in that kind of a universe where it's already established and stuff, so all of a sudden
it's a new story arc.
They're like, oh, dude, these characters in this one episode?
Yeah.
Let's bring them back.
Yeah, exactly.
It'll make all these fanboys piss their pants.
Yeah, it's that kind of thing.
Yeah, you see, there's no game out there that really dives into history of something that I like that much.
Right.
So I don't really have that kind of feeling with a game.
Well, I mean,
I don't know, dude. I
still have a hard time paying monthly.
Sometimes hearing like you and Ryan talk about, like the sports games and stuff, especially now playing basketball, when you get to see all like the old school players and stuff, you get excited about that.
Yeah, it warms my heart.
You really do, and
90s basketball,
like
Chris.
the game. You couldn't stop looking stuff up online until you found out how to play as the Sonics.
Good man.
I was on a mission.
So like that kind of history stuff that matters to you.
That does matter to me. It does a lot, but I don't actually. You see, that's the thing is the whole entire history that they're involved in the game for is something that I'm not even playing. That's the Bulls versus the Sonics. It's all about Michael Jordan and the teams that he played, and we happen to be one of those teams. And I'm, all I'm using it for is the uniforms.
But now, okay, for example, say on this game, so they give you like the Bulls and their playthrough of that season.
Yeah.
So like, one of the best Sonic seasons or one of the most nostalgic ones, they gave you that as a downloadable pack to play that season out. And not bad, like maybe $5 or something. Would you buy that?
It depends. No. If I could keep their uniform and use it for a regular association game that I play, then yes.
So now if they did that every now and then, you'd be okay with, because then you could choose what you want to buy. Is that why? Instead of having to pay every month?
Well,
so the C-store system almost works better for you.
It does. So I see something there I like, see.
So
and then that's easy. It was a lot easier for us also to pay that money because it's like, hey, we paid nothing for this, so $12. That's still less than the normal price of a game.
You didn't have to pay to even download it.
No, the thing is with that is, you do start to take that realization that you're not paying anything for this game. And why not give them $12.50 for something that I really want? And
I think it's a great system. I really do. I think it is a great, fantastic system because it gives them, hopefully, incentive to put, good stuff in that's worth money.
Well, like you said, since the last time we played, which was this week, they're adding or added a new travel power, and that's something you're interested in buying. So it seems like if they keep adding stuff, they're going to get more monies.
All right. So interesting. So there would be no game really that just boggles my mind because
I could see myself being suckered more by buying a lifetime subscription. I could see being caught up, but it would have to be a certain game, and really, I don't know what game that would be.
Okay, we could just keep rambling on all night, but I think it's time to wrap the sucker
Eat
up.
soy.
Hey, look at you eating soy. Good job, man. Good. We worked you up an appetite, didn't we?
Yeah.
All right, everyone. Well, LOTSO comes out every other Friday over at JupiterBroadcasting.com, and you can always catch us live on the opposite Friday when it's not coming out.
I really like that system.
Yeah, live one Friday, release the next Friday. I like that, too.
every Friday.
Every Friday is a LOTSO Friday for at least somebody somewhere. I like that. And next Friday is going to be Champions Online. At least a little bit of gameplay.
I'm going to be at level 25 by then.
You think so?
Yes, it's my goal.
Boy, I better start cranking.
I want to create my nemesis.
All right, everyone. Well, thanks so much for tuning into this week's episode of LOTSO, and we'll see you right back here in a couple of weeks.
Every time.
Thanks for listening to Legend of the Stoned Owl.
Legend of the Stoned Owl is produced over at JupiterBroadcasting.com. That's where you can find the show, subscribe, all those good things, leave us feedback, and also where you'll find us every 2 weeks. Thanks for listening to this episode. We'll see you in a fortnight.